Hi again. Welcome to part 2 or maybe part 1 of how to play D major scale. This one's for the cellist and the bassist. You guys had the same bow hold, which is why I'm putting, similar bow holds, which is why I'm putting this in the same video. Obviously, the pattern for D major scale, though, is completely different for the bassist and cellist. Is more similar actually for cellist and violist than it is for bassist and cellist, because for the bass you guys have something like 0 1 4 0 1 4 shift 2 4. That's not going to sound correct on the cello because you guys have completely different strings. It's also a smaller instrument, so the notes are closer together than the bass is. So really I'm going to just talk about correct bowing and how to hold the bow, not so much which fingers to use for the cello and bass, mostly technique. So you're going to constantly see me accidentally hold the bow like a violinist, and then when I do that I want you to actually yell at me. Just kidding, don't yell at me, I'll cry. But for the cellist and bassist, I do not mind this. Actually, I'm not going to teach you it that way. There's a beginner bow hold that looks something like this. I don't want you guys to do that because I want you guys to skip that because it's bad technique. I'm going to start you guys right from the beginning with putting your thumb in the middle. You guys' hand is a little bit more straight. Like a violinist and violist, their hand's more turned. Yours is like this. You're kind of like dropping into your hand and using your thumb to just balance that. So your hand looks more like this, not so much like this. It's a slight difference, but the difference is real. So really that's it. It's almost like holding up a 4 and then dropping your fingers over. Nothing crazy, except when students do this. Sometimes they are holding their bow like a caveman and they put their fingers completely under the frog. It's not like that. Your bow does lay in your fingers, but your fingers should not go under your bow much. With that being said, you may have heard me tell the violinists and violists to not move this part of their arm, their upper arm, when they're bowing. That is not the same rules for the cellist and bassist. You guys kind of do like a monkey arm swing, but really what I want you to think of is that there is a table that your bow is gliding across, which is keeping your bow straight. You're still opening and closing your arm like the violinists and violists are doing, but I just want you to imagine a table that your bow is sliding across. Again, you're going to play between the bridge and the fingerboard, which is this black part. If I were you, I would practice doing open bows first. So also, same with you, I would practice on a string that's between strings, because if you practice, like for instance, cellos on an open string, it's a lot easier to get the correct sound. By the way, don't tell anybody, but I am using a violin bow right now, and I'm using the world's worst cello on the planet right now. I really shouldn't complain because this was donated to me. My brother has my cello at his house, and I did not realize that prior to recording this video, so I took out this bad boy right here, and I don't have a bow besides my violin bow, so forgive me. You will get the gist of what to do. So what I want you to do first is practice just bowing on the D string. Hopefully I don't hit this. You're just going to place your bow between the bridge and the fingerboard. Don't get too close to the bridge because you'll get that nasty sound, but definitely get right between the bridge and the fingerboard. And again, I'm just opening my arm and closing my arm. But again, it's more like a monkey swing, like your arm is swinging back and forth, not so much like keeping this still. It's almost impossible to do that. I want to use my entire bow. So again, forgive any sounds. Sorry, Cody. He's like, what? All right, so D major scale. For cellists and bassists, I want your thumb behind the neck. Violinists and violists kept their thumb on the side of the neck. I want your thumb behind the neck the whole time. But do not squeeze into your instrument. most of your pressure should be in the front of your hand, not coming from the back of your thumb. Because if you're squeezing the neck of your instrument, same with violins and violas, I forgot to say this, if you're squeezing the neck of your instrument, shifting in the future is going to get really hard. So we want to make sure the pressure is coming from the pads of our fingers, not so much pushing from our thumb. With that being said, we are going to start D major scale. Alright, so I'm just making sure I have good intonation. Intonation is playing in tune. I'm going to be holding my bow correctly. We're going to start with open D, playing a really slow bow. And I'm going to work on the pads of my finger landing a bit more than the tips of my finger. But again, having a lot of finger pressure. So it's going to sound like this for ascending D major scale. So if you notice, I bring my arm forward and I bring my arm back to cross strings on the cello, and the bass is going to be the same. The only difference really right now is your finger pattern. There's going to be different technique obviously in the future, but most importantly, your thumbs in the back, you're using the pads of your finger, not so much the tips of your fingers. We do want to hit one string at a time, so it's not completely flat fingers, but you are more on the pads of your finger than the tip of your finger, like a violin and violist. Same thing I said in the other video, the hardest part about the D major scale is going from that open string to putting all 4 fingers down. If you are focusing, then you remember me saying you need to go from open A to all fingers down. You don't want to do and then line up those fingers. You want to lead with that pinky. So you're gonna practice going from open A. Keep doing that. Open A to all 4 fingers down at the same time. Lead with that pinky so we don't get nasty notes. Because if not, you're gonna hear something like that took way too long to get to that note. So starting from high D, we're gonna work on descending. Same with you guys could play this entire scale with a metronome. 60 is actually probably too fast. I'm gonna have you guys play around 50. Again, just go to Google, type in metronome, METRONOME, and then set the BPM, which means beats per minute, to your desired speed. Do not play too fast at first because we're working on tonality, which is sounding good when we play, and intonation, which is playing in tune, and rhythm. So this is your tempo. This is 50. It'll sound like this. Most importantly, I was making sure I was using my entire bow. It is really easy to want to use a tiny bow when you're first starting. We want to stay away from that. Even if your bow's going all over the place, the best way to fix it is to keep trying the correct way. Don't try to play correctly by shortening your bow. You want to play correctly by using your entire bow still. So, with that being said, you guys will practice along with the video, rewatch the video for technique, Google, research, look in your books, For any other, look at him looking at that bull. Oh, what a cute boy. What was I saying? Oh, probably I was saying something like look up good technique. Be careful of frauds on the internet. There's some people who give out bad advice. So you could just play along with this video or any other professional. So, because yeah, I'm a professional. So that's all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I'm just kidding. Bye. Oh, where's a stop?